Hey guys, today I'm joined by Eric Frankel, founder and CEO of an LA-based AI ad tech company that's reinventing advertising using hyper-personalized video and display at scale. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your story and your journey. And I know you were at Warner Brothers and you're working with a lot of big name companies, Amazon, Universal. If you don't mind giving us the 30-second overview.
Quick version is Warner Brothers, over the course of 20 years, I got a phone call from the chairman, said, good news, you're becoming president of a giant division, moved from New York to LA, went and did that, ran a multi-billion-dollar division, was born to reinvent and reimagine things. So I decided that the two of us and everyone else in the world should be able to press a button, watch whatever they want on television. So I spent many years at Warner Brothers convincing the media industry to not send DVDs, to not have just strictly linear television, but to let us watch what we want when we want. And that was, of course, an uphill battle that eventually we succeeded. And after that success in my division, making even more and more revenue, I woke up one day before I wore t-shirts to work where I wore fancy Italian luxury suits. And after I would go shopping at a store called Barney's, I would come home and start getting emails and getting ads pushed to me about dresses, handbags, and high heels. And I decided that there was this $1 trillion business called marketing that was broken, and in my opinion, hadn't really changed since the time I was a kid. And it just turned out to be a digital device instead of an analog. So ads looked like the ads I grew up with on CBS or NBC, or display ads looked like print ads from newspapers and magazines, and emails weren't much different than the things that found their way into my mailbox. So I decided, with the advent of digital, all of the data out there, that rather than making one version of an ad, that you could make hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands or more. So I left Warner after 30 years, got together with a bunch of other well-known industry executives, raised some money, and we built this platform. And for the last 12 years, we've been helping brands produce and deploy. It's a full end-to-end solution, ads and or messages on 22 ad tech and martech channels, that rather than people going, I wonder why they're sending this to me, they embrace it, they pay attention to it, and they're engaged and typically activated. So brands make a lot more money. People click, people shop, because we're talking to you about your white and blue shirt and something that you like. And maybe you like to go to Los Angeles or New York. So we're not telling you about going to Dayton, Ohio, nothing against Dayton, but we're talking about things that you care about. And that's pretty much what we do. And now we're about to launch next week our AI-powered SMB version, where you can just put in any URL and literally in 2.5 minutes, you get a pretty decent commercial, starting off a little bit more SMB, small, medium-sized business oriented. We'll get to enterprise, has voice activated editing controls. So after you make the commercial, you could say, can you move the type in scene one down? Can you put this shadow on it? We could do it in 31 languages. And we're excited about this new product. But what we do, people see on streaming, on Facebook, on email, on apps, on YouTube, on programmatic, in every marketing channel we know of.
Wow, what an impressive journey and story. And now launching this new product in the time of AI where everything is incorporating AI. For successful or multi-million dollar agency owners that are listening, how can they utilize your new product to leverage what they're doing with their clients?
Well, it's a good question. So what's interesting is, if you look at we'll call it top 10 ad agency holding companies, only one and a half, two of them actually even have the personalization technology that we've developed over 12 years, and have the ability, like we do, to make 35,000 ads each week for a gigantic car company that they prefer. I don't always say their name in these kind of venues, but every week we make 35,000 ads. We get new data. They're going to new people. There's new offers. And at the end of the week, we throw away 35,000 ads, make 35,000 new ones. They link out to 1,400 dealerships. So the answer is, Because of the advent of AI, people have realized that maybe my wife should get a different ad than I get, and have realized that maybe my son who lives in Brooklyn, I'm in Los Angeles, should get a different ad, my 27-year-old, or my mother in Boca Raton, not too far from where you normally are. So they are calling us up. We have a number of them interested in purchasing us, all sorts of partnerships. And then the AI aspect, we've literally met with the head of AI at a top 6 ad agency holding company that has hundreds and hundreds of employees working on AI. And he showed us a storyboard of what he would like to do and said, but we don't have it yet. And we were able to say, why don't we show you this? And we have it. And his response was this. And now we're saying, buy us and let's go to work for you and save you 18 months of development and so on. And for those other companies on the personalization, it can take you 3.5 years or more to get really good at that. Sometimes when you're small and muscular, you have to get good at what you do or you would die, where agencies that have 67,000 and 125,000, I think some of it got lost. So they weren't as focused as we were on these tools that we built, which seemed to be coming into vogue.
You said something interesting there, Eric. It sounds, are you looking to get acquired? Is that the goal here? Like,
Yeah, I come from 30 years working at a giant company that started off when I started there. I think my division was doing $50 million a year. When I left, we're maybe 1.8 billion. And there's advantages and disadvantages to working for a large company. When you leave that large company and you've worked there for 30 years and you decide that you want to be an entrepreneur and you're tired of some of those meetings that you had to go to all the time, you don't really know what you're doing when you go into this new business. So you learn on the job. And one of the things we've learned is, even though we love our product, going back to the conversation we had before we joined, I just hit the record button, is the ad tech and martech business is very much based on having large sales teams, your expertise. At Warner Brothers, when you have something called Friends, every media company in the world wants it, and there are auctions and people bid literally billions of dollars to buy it from you. So good is good. In the ad tech and martech business, I discovered later rather than sooner. First, it was teaching people that maybe we shouldn't be trying to sell you or me a dress, or we shouldn't be talking to you about dogs if you are a cat owner. And it would be helpful if we told you where your Burger King is or what time the movie's playing at what theater near you, to reduce friction and make it easy for you to spend your hard-earned money. But yes, so we have a very small sales team. So even though we have a very impressive roster of brands and agencies that we've worked with, I'm tired of being smallish. And so now we're looking to find partners, owners, and other investors that allow us to expand. And as salespeople frequently get paid lots of money, so it's an expense that some smaller companies don't necessarily have. And the same thing with engineers. So everyone wants more engineers. Everybody wants more salespeople. So that would be the advantage. And yes, and we have a couple of offers that have come in, and more people finding us and saying it's the old build or buy discussion. Do you build it yourself, or do you buy? You and I don't sit in our driveway on Saturday or Sunday and build a car. Even if we were handy, we go down to whatever dealership it is and go home with a car 4 hours later.
that makes sense. And since you did ask, I'm curious, for a business at your level, you mentioned you have a sales team. What are some of the challenges that you face and that you see with having an internal sales team that you're looking to?
It's primarily the size. We have a teeny sales team, so we don't get to quote unquote cover the waterfront adequately. You know, what I've learned over time, based on my lack of experience selling to brands and agencies, I was selling programming to every channel that you have on your television set or whatever device we have on our computers, and or involved in the production of all of those programs for decades. And when you were at the top studio for most of my time, I would say they've been passed by Disney, who I would argue is more aggressive and a little smarter than the management at Warner, with all due respect. But so, yeah, it's just about boots on the ground, knocking on doors. The second challenge might be customer success executives. So what we've built is this platform that does these amazing things. And that's what our skill is. We're not as skillful as having deep relationships with hundreds on a worldwide basis, because we do this on a worldwide basis, thousands of decision makers, and visiting them and talking to them regularly to get those opportunities. And we have no historic relationships with them. So now we have companies that have 100 salespeople that are selling older school products that aren't as in vogue and are saying, gee, we should probably partner with you, because when we're knocking on a door and selling this older school product, we could be taking money from them for Facebook, for Instagram, for streaming, for programmatic, for email, for app, so on. And then if they want to be in the AI business, Meta, Google, Amazon, Netflix, and Apple don't have a self-service tool where you can press a button and in 2.5 minutes have what looks like a pretty decent commercial. And we do. And it gets about 25 to 40% better every week as the development happens and as AI gets smarter. We think we have something, and it's still just really educating people who run these agencies and these decision makers that that it isn't the old days where you spend 4 months deciding what your commercial should be like, spend 3 months making the commercial, and now you've put 7 months of time, energy, and a lot of money into that commercial, and now you're obligated to run it for 6 months. People get tired very easily, and you need to keep things fresh, you need to keep things relevant, and so that's what we help brands do. So they're just waking up to this new agenda. It was the same way when I was preaching streaming to the world, and they were saying, what's wrong with being able to watch one thing at 8 o'clock? And the answer is, not everybody wants to watch that thing at 8 o'clock. And if you finish dinner at 8:15, you could be out of luck.
Yeah, that makes sense. You missed the show. Catch us tomorrow. Curious because a couple thoughts that are coming to my mind with the technology that you're building. One of the biggest pain points that I see inside of successful agencies is like they have to have in-house creative teams making new creatives all the time, churning through those. But we know that personalized is the highest converting. It sounds like you've merged those. And is it literally a one-to-one ad, or is it, yeah,
Here's the easy. So the answer is it can be. It can't really be on social or the walled gardens. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, but if you want to throw LinkedIn, YouTube, whatever, those aren't really one-to-one. Those are usually groups. And the smaller the group, the more the media may cost you. So you may be talking about 1,000 similar people to you. So people who live in Miami, who are a certain age, who are single, married, like white shirts with blue stripes, whatever that might be, whose closest Bloomingdale's is 3/4 of a mile away. So on paid media, on the walled gardens, you're usually doing things to a group. On programmatic or streaming, where we click a button, we get an ad call, and it could say, now we're never going to know that it's Chris Sanchez, because that would be getting public information out, but they might say, this is customer number 1,110,000, what have you. And based on the business rules, we're supposed to push you an ad that says, hey, Miami, we miss you. You haven't shopped at Bloomingdale's in 6 months. We know you like products like, and up comes the white shirt with the blue stripes and the pair of blue jeans that you like and these pair of sneakers. So we wanted to offer you 30% and tell you to come back in the next 5 days. So yes, you can do one-to-one. And really where you can do maybe the most effective one-to-one is in CRM. So CRM, which for those who don't know is email, app, SMS text. Our SMS text looks like a commercial, not like code that says you're confirmed to come to this restaurant at 7:30. It's pretty pictures that when click turn into one-to-one videos. So in that case, because Chris Sanchez has opted in and has said, Bloomingdale's, you can feel free to talk to me, we replace things that look like a static print ad or a static letter or whatever it might be. And we can literally say, hey, Chris, your friends at Bloomingdale's, Miami, it looks like it's been 6 months since you purchased items like this. And then you can just go from there. And that's one-to-one. And that's because there's a URL and there's a special code where you come up with ideas for variables and what these messages should be. And it says name equals Chris and product equals SKU number 1,257,962. And we integrate with them, or we're talking to you not about going to Dayton, Ohio, but we're talking to you about going to New York at this great rate. So, yeah. So on some channels you can do it, on others you can't. And you can only call out names on CRM to people who have opted in. But yeah, the 35,000 ads that we do for people, it's literally telling you to bring your red blankety blank particular car model for a tune-up at this particular dealership in your neighborhood. There are dozens or hundreds of other people like that, but it doesn't have to be.
Got it. Okay. And so Eric, in your experience, you work, sounds like, with some of the biggest agencies out there. What would you say for some of the smaller guys that, are just trying to hit 7, 8 figures? What would you say for them? What would be one piece of advice that agencies?
Look, the smartest ones say life is about testing and experimenting, not testing and experimenting with something that might cost you $1 million, because if you're wrong, that $1 million would be an incredible amount of number. What we do, in our opinion, is inexpensive, is very affordable, and all of the rates that we charge our quote unquote partners, anybody we're working with, are very flexible. So the key to any success in life is a gut and intuition. Does this make sense? If I'm an empty nester, my baby is 27. So if the Hilton Hotel shows me an ad and shows me families having a good time and parents throwing kids in swimming pools, and they tell me they have a kids camp, I'm going to run as far as I can. I did that in my life, and I spent 18 years throwing my kids in the pool and hoping that the place had a kids camp. Now I want to take a yoga class, go to a wine tasting, and sit under a tree or an umbrella and read a novel and disconnect from what I do for 14 hours a day. So anyone can do this. We work with companies, giant companies that you would think spend a lot of money, and they don't. And we have these little teeny budgets, and we push out these ads, and it's primarily all, here's what you do today. Here's a better version. Do you agree? Hey, it's no longer static. It now moves. Hey, we put human beings in it. Hey, we show people that it comes in 12 different colors. So it's affordable testing that a person's intuition says might make sense. And you do that a couple of times. And if it moves the needle, and if you like your partner, and then you continue it, and then you figure out how to build it, buy it, own it, whatever it might be, to do more of, because in this marketing business is probably better than I do. It's a super commoditized world with many people who do the exact same thing. They're trucking vegetables from one city to the next, and there are hundreds of thousands of truckers out there. So what's the unique selling proposition, and what makes you better? And that's what I was always looking at when I was at Warner. And that's what we think we help people do. But there are a lot of people who want to keep their head down, be safe, and like that model where they make that one ad or commercial and they run it for a long period of time. And now there's data saying that people end up hating that. They go, that thing again? So here you are spending your hard-earned money trying to sell white shirts with blue stripes. And people go, I hate that commercial. Not only do I hate that commercial, but I hate that brand. And I'm going to go try this other brand just because I can't stand seeing that anymore. And you need more creative, and then you need more relevance and more personalization and all of those things that make people. The big secret is most people don't like ads. I could be even more explicit, but most people in the business think everyone loves this. No, the average consumer doesn't. Yes, they like the 5 funniest commercials of the year that we see on a special or something, or we like to watch the Super Bowl. But even those great ads, by the 8th time around, you go,
Makes absolute sense. Thanks for sharing
yeah,
words of
we're
wisdom
happy.
from
Anyone
Eric.
who sees this podcast and wants to reach out to Eric at adgreetz.com, we're happy to have somebody meet with them and explain it and see what's up. We just get off on moving the needle. We like to I equate it a lot to exercise and working out. There are a lot of people who haven't been to a gym since they were in high school. So it's, if you could do 2 push-ups today and 10 sit-ups, how do we get you to do 20 push-ups and 100 sit-ups and all that stuff? So that's what we do. We try to look at before and after and try to move the needle and sit there and say, you don't have to spend $15 to get a customer or $400 to get a customer, because now there are ads that they embrace and pay attention to, and they click more and they shop more. Not to mention things like, hey, how about welcoming people and thanking people and all of that stuff that almost no brands do in the world of digital in a compelling manner, which of course you're able to do. Hey, Chris, on behalf of everybody at Bloomingdale's, we want to thank you for purchasing. And then we integrate with their catalog this item. Our way of saying thanks: buy something again during the month of July, and we'll give you 30% off. And now we turn the $200 order into a $400 order. Those are things that I think brands should do.
Love it, Eric. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thanks for sharing your words of wisdom.
Anytime. Thanks, Chris, for inviting me. Good to speak. Bye now.